Why is the mod debating them now? I mean, in fairness, like, what are you supposed to do when the conversation has reached the level of, like, define Jew, define killed, define anti-Semitism? Do you think that Nazis could be good? Maybe? Okay. P.F. Jung is, like, a fan of Jordan Peterson. That's what I debated him on. No wonder he talks like this. Define, disagrees with. Like, it's perfect. That's where it comes from.
For context, the debate you're about to watch was in response to my video called Why Nobody Loves Nick Fuentes More Than I Do.
We're watching this video posted by P.F. Jung. I believe I debated him once in the past. He had a conversation with Big Joel, which I believe has something to do with Nick Fuentes. And Big Joel actually came in and talked about it a bit with me, so I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious what the deal is. That's all. That's all I've got.
In which I shared some thoughts on Nick's influence in society. Even though most reasonable people can agree that Nick Fuentes is a racist and a Holocaust denier, it's very clear that accusing him of all those things, however true it may be, has not really done much to contain his influence in society.
A meeting with Nick Fuentes, who is a Holocaust denier, and
he's
got a lot of pushback.
Denier?
Nick Fuentes?
He's a denier,
yes.
Or does he debate the numbers?
I have friends and family who I have seen had their brains rotted by Holocaust denial.
So,
chat, it's time.
We are seeing a rise of Holocaust questioning, Holocaust skepticism.
So given all of this, the question is, what do we do about it?
So the other day, Paul, you posted a video that yielded a fair bit of controversy, I must say. Never before, I think, has a Paul video generated so many DMs in my own inbox. People saying, "What's your boy Paul up to with this number?" Our pal Big Joel, big star YouTuber, is with us today, and he was one of many people that had a bit of a problem with this video. And before we sort of maybe get into what Big Joel's critiques of the video were, I want you to maybe just sort of set up the audience with what you were trying to do with that video and what argument you think you were making.
Yeah, sorry. Well, this is I will read my defense now for the prosecution that I'm currently facing on the right.
Hey, quick question, by the way. Anyone who's more versed on Big Joel lore, can somebody explain what motivated him to do this? Maybe I'm wrong, but I never really got the impression of Big Joel being like a super debate-oriented, motivated kind of person, you know? Has he been trying to dip his toe into that more lately? It seems like a very contentious topic, you know? Not advertiser friendly.
I'm brought to trial here now. The video was an analysis of Nick Fuentes and the negative things and positive things about him from my perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one line actually that stuck. I was rewatching the video in anticipation of this, and one sort of line that you used that I think kind of, in my mind, kind of defines the thesis of the video, was that you said that most people have an incomplete understanding of why Nick Fuentes is popular and why people like him. Do you think that's a kind of fair?
I think that's a standout line.
Okay.
I think that's almost as good as every other line in that video.
All right. And then so Big Joel, what was your main problem?
So hey, by the way, I'm
Joel.
here. What's up, everybody? You know, and just to clear the record here, I did not message JJ about your video, Paul. JJ messaged me and brought me into awareness of what you've done. It's not my problem that I saw this video. I just want to say that out front, okay?
JJ is my Ghislaine Maxwell, who traffics in all of my, all the left-wing YouTubers.
Many people beyond Big Joel were messaging me. Big Joel was merely just, as he is with most things, just merely the most articulate critic of what he had seen. And what is your main criticism?
So to clarify, your video was an analysis of the best and worst things about Nick Fuentes, and the best things are, I think, very well summarized. I think the real thesis statement of your video
Grim
is
looks
people
like a has-been
vastly
design.
underestimate how useful it is to have someone squarely on the far right repeatedly telling his audience that broad-based racial hatred is, quote, a low IQ freak show, right? And your claim is... You object.
I would not say that is the thesis of my video.
But that was something that you did say.
No, it's an important point. Yes, but I would.
I would say it's the linchpin of the video, but that seems like a very pedantic conversation. I won't defend that.
Okay, I would disagree with the linchpin too, but go ahead.
That's fine. To what extent would you say that Nick Fuentes is so cards on the table, right? I think that Nick Fuentes is, including in all the clips that you showed of him, very much pro broad-based racial hatred. He's a figure that has wholly devoted himself in those clips and in other things that I've seen of him in preparation for this, very much wholly in favor of broad-based racial hatred. And that is true of him in...
You know, actually, hold on. I'm not disagreeing with Big Joel here, but lately I've been seeing some clips of Fuentes' takeoff where he's shifting his tone a little bit. Not being less racist, mind you, but it seems like he understands that there is a time limit to how much you can build a political movement off of hatred and antipathy and insultdom. And he's been trying to lean a little bit more into, like, the... what would you call it? I don't know. Socially conscientious? Compassionate Nazism? A little bit less like N-word, 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 and a little bit more like... How do I put it? Our beautiful Volk out there are suffering and we need to show them compassion. That kind of thing, you know? I might be boiling it down a little bit too much, but it's moderate... Not moderate Nazi, just like there are different elements of the rhetoric that you can focus on, right? Much like how there are left-leaning content creators who focus very, very much on antagonistic rhetoric, like antipathy towards billionaires, but there are also ones that focus more on, like, you know, oh, everyone should be able to get healthcare or whatever. It's not necessarily a change in the values, just in the rhetoric.
In every one of the clips that you showed up, pro broad-based racial hatred. So I think that might be the disagreement that we have.
Okay.
One of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
I don't know what he believes.
It's okay from you just...
No, but
I know what he says.
Well,
and I said
you know,
it's very useful to have someone like Nick Fuentes telling his audience it's low IQ freak show behavior to have broad-based racial hatred.
What do you think about this? The holistic takeaway that a reasonable audience member of Nick Fuentes would have upon watching the body of his work is broad-based racial hatred is a good thing, and everything he says leads us to that conclusion that that's his opinion.
I think that's fair.
Because I think that's true. I think he's never had a anti-broad-based hatred take in his life. I think he's wholly on the side of broad-based racial hatred.
Deep Focus was nearby?
The clips I showed in the video were demonstrably not that.
Like,
I disagree. I disagree with that.
So why don't
Should we pull up the clips?
The whole essence of Christianity is that we do love everybody and we are charitable towards everybody. Now, charity doesn't mean we gotta airlift them into our community. Not saying that, but I don't necessarily, I think it almost inverts the Christian message to say the strangers can go fuck off. You know, if we don't have any love, if we have any leftover love, we'll give it to them. But we really just love our own race and our own people. And don't get me wrong, I do love our own race and our own people, but I don't think that the answer to liberalism, which says fuck your own people, love aliens, is to say fuck aliens, only love your own people. It's like love everybody. Love everybody. We have to be stewards of our country and our community, but we also should have love for people, and we should be charitable to them in ways that we can, in ways that are sensible, in ways that aren't suicidal. You know, there's like a middle ground between saying we have to invite the whole world versus we have to exterminate the whole world. And the middle is like, you know, we have to preserve ourselves. We don't have to commit suicide. We can help people, but we don't have to do it in a suicidal way. Anyone that has any genuine racial hatred, we have to just say...
Okay, to be clear, by the way, this is just an amped up, hate the sin, love the sinner type rhetoric. He's obviously being dishonest. His community is full of seething hatred for a wide variety of groups. I think he just recognizes that there's probably more long-term marketability and rhetorical viability in rhetoric that can shield itself in that, you know, that ever classic Christian, you know, Christian love. There's no hatred like Christian love, that kind of thing. It's also possible, like, obviously Fuentes to a large extent has always been a grifter. Like, he wants to be the cat boy. You know, I think that for the most part, these people's opinions are often quite, like, at least to some extent, performative and insincere. And he might just be getting tired of cultivating a fan base where constant performative hatred is the only defining characteristic. It might just be kind of exhausting, right? As to whether or not it's like a meaningful improvement, I don't really know. I don't really think it matters, to be honest. The same political positions will be supported regardless. So I think it's just a rhetorical shift. Where the fuck am I going, Venture? Where the fuck am I going right now?
There's something wrong with you. I understand not wanting to live around black people. I get it. And I understand when you see what black people do, some of them, I understand hating that. But this whole like autistic racial, like actual racialism, actual racial militant hatred, it is like a freak show. Because that comes from...
Yeah, he might just be tired of that element of his community. Like, there's a difference between being the cool, casual kind of racist and being one of these, like, insane frothing at the mouth types. Those insane frothing at the mouth types are also probably more likely to engage in gatekeeping behavior that he doesn't like. Like, Fuentes gets a lot of shit from the online right for a variety of reasons. And I think they literally have a term for this, don't they? Wignat. The term is like when you're a white nationalist, but you're so overzealous in being a white nationalist that you're acting like a black person, essentially. What the fuck? It's a pretty common term.
From an emotional place. It is one thing to say that, like, there are whites and blacks. Black people clearly are not on our level of development, and that's why they're struggling. That's why they're not integrating well, and that's why there are these problems. Like, it's one thing to say that clinically, and it's one thing to see what they do and get frustrated by it and get angry about it. It's a whole other thing to have this, like, persistent, like, antipathy for vast groups of people. That is just like a low IQ, dysfunctional thing. And everything, oh, well, but that doesn't make you mad. It's like, yeah, it makes me mad. I'm not filled with like racial hatred for an entire group. Even the Jews, even though Jewish people have ruined my life in many ways. And
remember how I've said before that the original definition of the word misogynist wasn't calling people out for being sexist because everyone was sexist when the term was conceived? But rather it was a man who was so over the top in being sexist that it discredited him, right? It was like hysterical, overly emotional, like their hatred of women was embarrassing. He's basically describing that, but in like a Nazi racialized context, you know?
Like they do horrible things. I don't have a hatred for them as a group, and I can say nice things about them, you know? But that comes from being a Christian. That's the kind of peace and that's the kind of disposition that you can only have if you love God, if you truly have love in your heart for people.
Right. And so I guess like if I'm being devil advocate for Paul's side, Big Joel, I guess the argument would be sort of like, what is wrong with those statements? Like, why are those statements not sort of sufficient against the kind of the case that you're making?
So, okay, when I see somebody say, let me read the quote that you said, okay? Because I actually wrote it down. One of the quotes that Nick Fuentes said. Yeah. This whole like autistic, actual racialism, actual militant hatred, it's like a freak show because that comes from an emotional place. It's one thing to say there are whites and blacks. Black people are clearly not on our level of development, and that's why they're struggling. It's a whole other thing to have this persistent antipathy for vast groups of people.
Yeah, like imagine it like being in the 18th. So in their mind, the difference is this. Imagine being like an 18th century white gentleman. And as any white gentleman of that era, you know about phrenology and racial inferiority and superiority and so on. But like, that doesn't make you a poll poster. Even if you're racist and a guy who is alive today who posts like racialized Wojak edits 24/7 are both racist, there is a massive difference in how they behave. It's almost down to a respectability thing, you know?
So when you hear that quote, you know, your mind might go to, well, he's saying he doesn't hate black people. He's saying that it's wrong to wholly hate black people. But when I see it, what I hear is somebody laundering in this sort of pseudo-intellectual way the belief that black people are fundamentally inferior to him, such that they're not even really worthy of human hatred. They're actually beneath shit, kind of. They're subhuman in a way. They're beneath.
I think Joel's off here. Well, Joel's half off. Joel is correct in that this represents incredible antipathy towards black people. It's basically just Fuentes telling his community to stop being so embarrassing about it. It's a way of laundering the reputation of racists so that they can continue to persist and not be shackled indefinitely to what is basically like the most embarrassing type of racist, which is a poll poster, right? Like, you can go back to basically any era of American history and find racists who are less unhinged and more composed, even if they're more racist and more consequentially harmful than some guy who's, you know, obsessed with interracial pornography and likes playing with his Wojak dolls. You get what I'm talking about.
Their level of development, he doesn't want to live near them. What is that if not racial hatred? How could we call it anything else? What is racial hatred?
It is racial hatred.
Doesn't qualify.
Because racial hate. When he. What's the quote again, JJ?
Well, Big Joel just read it, right? Where he sort of says that
That's the right?
Yeah.
actual. Well, I mean, it's because it's true. He in that quote, he's basically, as Big Joel just read, he's sort of saying two things contradictory.
Yeah,
somewhat.
that black people are not in development of white people. Yeah, I disagree with that.
And then he also
I'm not asking
says
whether or not you're a white supremacist.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you're just, I guess what you're saying is like, yeah, what do you make of a quote like that? Like, because it's true, like he says actual racialism is bad, but then as Big Joel said, he also goes on to sort of say, like, I wouldn't want to live near black people. Black people are lower than us. In
Right.
the form
I
of
put that quote
development and all that
specifically
kind
in.
of
I cited that quote
I
specifically.
know.
And I will tell you this
We're getting a lot
as
of,
plainly as
of Nick
possible.
here.
I don't want to live around black people. I just don't. It would be irresponsible if I had a wife and kids to live near black people. It just would be. And that's not to say that every black person is violent. It's not to say that every black person is the same way. But we watch the news. We read the papers. When you drive downtown in Chicago, you know who you got to look out for and worry about when you're thinking about whether you're going to get carjacked. When you're
I love these, like, these persistent racial fantasies that white people have. You can always tell it's a fantasy because they talk about, like, Chicago or Detroit or something. Like, yeah, you know, that experience people have with crime when you go downtown in Chicago and a thug with his pants hanging down, holding a Glock at a sideways angle, goes up to you. Like, okay, it's fantasizing, right? It's fantasy. It's why they don't want to talk about, like, data, which you'd think they would, because speaking from a data perspective, black people do commit a disproportionate amount of violent crime. But once you make yourself subservient to the data, you get into, like, difficult and complicated questions about what the data actually means, and they don't want to do that. They just want to engage in the fantasy, you know? And it is a fantasy. That's why they talk about it so goddamn much.
worried about catching a stray bullet, when you're worried about who's going to pull up on the side of the road and literally shove a rifle in your face and steal your iPhone, or shoot you point blank.
I would hate that if that
execution
happened.
style in Lincoln Park. We know who's doing it. I don't want to live near them.
Okay.
I don't want to be near them. They make me nervous.
I appreciated the way that you put in the quote that seemingly cuts against the whole point of your video, which is that he's against broad-based racial hate.
That was not the whole point of my video, as I said, and that's why I rejected it in the first time.
One of the claims in your video that he's
one of the claims, which was just as important as the claim that Nick Fuentes has the capacity to wreak utter destruction and mayhem and be exactly the kind of racist demon that people make him out to be. And all of the evidence of all the weird shit he does with his cult is evidence of that, and I cited that specifically. So it's
From
not
my perspective, Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi who is a wholly destructive force in the life of his audience, has never made anybody in the history of time less racist, is a Holocaust denier, hates the Jews, and hates black people because he thinks they're less than he is. He justifies and launders his hatred through a pseudo-intellectual veneer that makes people think that they're engaging with some important political project when in fact they are.
This is all objectively correct. At the end of the day, it's the same with every racist project, and the more consciously racist it is, the more obviously it is this, which is a veneer pasted around a psychosexual obsession, right? It always goes back to that. It always goes back to the Wojaks. It's one of the reasons why, to an extent, I think this is kind of like an impossible project, because to the kind of person who watches Nick Fuentes, I don't actually think it's possible for them to exhibit Christian love. Because, like, they can't. They think they're metaphysically superior to other groups of people. It's not, like, Christian love, I guess, in the archetypal sense. You know, they can talk about it, and they love to talk about it. But, like, it'll always come back to the Wojaks. And if it couldn't, if it didn't come back to the Wojaks, they just wouldn't be racist. You know what I mean? Isn't that an oversimplification? Isn't it a lot more than that? I'm telling you, the psychosexual explanation for bigotry, time and time again, has proven to be pretty goddamn resilient.
Are indulging their most freakish and disgusting impulses when they watch him. That's my
I disagree. If what you described was true, he would not have the broad-based popularity with so many normal people, which he
Why
does.
is that the case?
I think that's a ridiculous statement from Jung there. Normal people's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I think.
Paul, like, is it not possible that plenty of normal people can be racist?
Are that stupid?
And can be sort of, well, I can be excited by.
No, the
you know,
argument is that it's an intellectual veneer. The argument is that intelligent people like Joel and I and JJ can pierce through the veil, but normal people can't do it.
How can you be a Holocaust denier and not hate Jews? How can you call black people inconsiderate, aggressive, cruel, and not hate black people?
How can you be a Holocaust denier and not hate Jews?
Yeah, how could you possibly do that?
Can you be? Wait, could someone deny the Stalinist genocide or the Maoist genocide?
Jesus Christ, this is. I can see why I didn't keep doing debates. Sort of like what we're relegated to. I mean, in the interest, I suppose, of observation, I'll just sort of watch and not crack down too. Like I'll let Joel do the talking, essentially. You know, Jung is a contrarian. Yeah, he is, but like. Obviously, come on. Where do you have to go when the debate reaches, you know, can you be a Holocaust denier without hating Jews? Well, isn't it like, you know, and can you not believe in Tooth Fairy, but you don't hate the Tooth Fairy? Like, it's nonsensical.
Genocides and not hate Chinese people?
I don't know. Maybe that's impossible. I don't know. But to explain why I think it's impossible.
Okay, hold on. Just to be clear, I know Holocaust deniers.
Yeah. Those people hate the Jews, in my view. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
You don't.
And I know these people. So you don't know. So you're asserting that, and I know that not to be true.
So to be a Holocaust denier, fundamentally, is to look at the fact that 2.7 million Jews went to Auschwitz-Birkenau over the course of about 5 years. Thousands of them came out with eyewitness testimony of their family going to gas chambers, and that instead of them being true, they're actually part of a massive conspiracy that is made to infect the world and make us opposed to the true reality, which is that Nazism is the correct way to go in society. That is what it's not just a kooky belief that you can have, it is a virulent hatred for Jews.
Do you think people who debate the numbers of the Holocaust by definition hate Jews?
If there's some sort of a narrow debate about that, I would say
no. If someone just says, you know, I don't know how many people like. I want to see a debate about the numbers of Jews that were killed in the Holocaust. Does that make someone a Nazi and a bad person, an evil person?
It depends on what they're saying about it.
All right, fine.
Now I remember why we don't debate right-wingers anymore. It is crazy how it took no time at all for the debate to reach the level of like, can you prove to me that Nazis hate Jews? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of beneath me to engage with this, I suppose, but Big Joel feels that it's worth his time. With that argument, I mean, not with the video. But Big Joel feels it's worth his time. Sorry, that comes across as kind of snarky. I guess I'm just kind of black-pilled because, in my experience, like, people who ask questions like this are allergic to... Like, the most charitable interpretation of their behavior is that they're allergic to the answers to the questions they so enthusiastically ask, you know? Like, they've always got a damn question of mine, don't they? You know, they've always got some take, and it's just a coincidence that their income to an extent relies on their ability to continue to draw audience attention with their provocative takes. What if Holocaust deniers are merely just curious about the facts? Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Very good.
But broadly, I would say
you just said a Holocaust denier equals someone who hates Jews.
Well,
and now you're saying that.
Well, what you just said was to somebody who wants to have a conversation. Maybe they're not informed as to what happened with the 6 million. Right. I don't want to say that everybody who's ignorant, but Nick Fuentes is a pretty tuned-in guy. I mean, I've seen videos of him talking about David Irving, an infamous Holocaust denier and revisionist. You know, he talks about Hitler being the maligned presence of World War II, how there's evidence that they didn't use Zyklon B to exterminate Jews in gas chambers. This is not somebody who's ignorant. He's somebody who believes that the Holocaust is a conspiracy to infect the world with pro-Jewish sentiment.
How many Jews do you think how many Jews does Nick Fuentes believe died in the Holocaust?
He certainly indicated less than 6 million.
Okay, but how many is it? Is it none?
Has he said any?
Cares?
I'm asking you. You're the one asserting this.
Oh, I think that he believes that some amount of Jews did die in the Holocaust, and he believes that those Jews that died in the Holocaust were not killed by Zyklon B in gas chambers, but it was instead some sort of a
starvation
big
in the camps because the
where
Allies
supply
bombed the
chains
supply
were going
lines.
all
Yeah.
wrong, and they died of starvation because they didn't have the food. Whatever. He doesn't. Holocaust denial is not merely the belief that nobody ever died in the Holocaust. It is the full-scale rejection of the narrative of the Holocaust as has been established by historians, credible historians. That's what Holocaust denial is.
I want fucking...
Okay, yeah,
I want to
believe that
focus
people
on
can be
pale ore and
Holocaust
the
deniers
mask
and not
soul
Jews. That's
upgrades.
self-evident and obvious.
It's not at all.
Hold on. This is separate. Now, what does Nick Fuentes believe? I don't know. As I stated, one of the most important points I made in the video was that he could very well be the evil, demonic, actual, I want to kill all the Jews, and he's just totally lying and all that. That's not the sense I get from him.
Nick Fuentes is an apologist for Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why I think Hitler's unfairly maligned. You know, and I'm not in like the fan club or anything, but like this stuff's important because of how it affects American politics.
You know,
anybody have anything for that?
Thank you for the history. Thank you for that history.
It is important.
So much.
Okay, well then, then define pro-Hitler.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so Go on, sorry.
Because if Nick Fuentes does like Kanye West does the Hail Hitler, fucking aesthetics and all that.
Yeah.
It's like how much of that is because he really loves Hitler, and how much of that is because it's a fuck you to the establishment.
It's like it almost immediately reaches a point where it can't be parodied, you know? These are the big conversations being had. In a way, it's kind of an affirmation of my point. In the same way that racism will always come back to people playing with Wojak dolls, like this particular kind of dickless centrist apologia will always come back to these sorts of low IQ just asking question shenanigans, right? Like it invariably it has to come back to this because like your main rhetorical strategy is wasting the other person's time. Are you missing the debate sphere yet? Oh yeah, I'm really feeling the absence in my life.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's an honest question because hold on. Just again, and I'm going to say this over and over again, just like I did in my video. I'm perfectly open to the possibility that Nick Fuentes is a genuine wants to see Jews massacred type person, and anyone who says that can't be the case or is not the case, I think is wrong.
I just want to set something clear here because it seems like one of the disputes between the two of you is that, you know, Big Joel is, you know, I think convinced, and I think, in my opinion, rightfully so, that Nick Fuentes is, hates Jews, is an anti-Semite, and you, Paul, are sort of acting as if this is a somewhat ambiguous and unsettled matter. Is that true?
No, how about this? Again, this is all we're getting into. I don't know what's going on in his mind. I don't know how much hatred he has in his heart.
Well,
he probably has a lot.
You can cut the baloney a little thin on this one, Paul.
Well, let's get the baloney out entirely. Let's just say he hates Jews. Yeah. He hates Jews. Okay.
Well, no, but I think
so. What is the?
Say, let us say as if this is like a thought exercise, Paul. Like, do you see him as fundamentally like an anti-Semitic figure who sort of traffics in anti-Semitic rhetoric and propaganda?
Sure. All right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do full lawyer mode. Okay. Define anti-Semitism.
No, I feel like at some point you can get too bogged down in the semantics, Paul. Like, it seems to me that it shouldn't be that difficult to answer the simple question: is Nick Fuentes basically an anti-Semitic character?
Sure. Yes, he's basically anti-Semitic. He's basically racist. Yes.
Yes, and that is
he's racist by any normal person's definition, which I said in that video.
You did say that in the video. So at that point, I think that, you know, sort of trying to sort of get the finer points of this is kind of irrelevant, right? The question is, I think, like the fundamental point of your video, Paul, was to posit that he has some redeeming qualities as well. I think
he has the capacity for redemption. I'll ask Joel that. Do you think that Nick Fuentes has the capacity?
This is such a content slop question. Like, this is such a rent is due next month ass question here, man. Debating over whether a prominent internet neo-Nazi can be redeemed. I don't fucking know. What the fuck does that even mean? Like, in any timeline? Sure, I guess. What the fuck is with this tap dancing? Well, it always gives me the impression. I can just, sometimes when I look at stuff like this, I can feel people's, like, rent is due notice. And it makes me feel very cynical. Why is the mod debating them now? I mean, in fairness, like, what are you supposed to do when the conversation has reached the level of, like, define Jew, define killed, define anti-Semitism? Do you think that Nazis could be good? Maybe? Okay. All right.
To change from who he is now and be a more pro-social force?
Yes, but I would also say the same about Ted Bundy, Adolf Hitler.
P.F. Jung is like a fan of Jordan Peterson. That's what I debated him on. No wonder he talks like this. Define disagrees with. Like it's perfect. That's where it comes from.
What about Destiny?
Yeah, I think that I don't think that anybody's like past the possibility of becoming a better person.
You think? Okay, so you think Nick Fuentes is as bad as Ted Bundy?
No.
Okay, how? Okay, do you think Nick Fuentes?
I think Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi who.
I think this could have been kept as a loving DM between P.F. Jung and Nick Fuentes. What the fuck is this?
Okay.
Hates the Jews and black people. So to the extent that I think that that's a bad thing, I think Nick Fuentes is guilty of it. I think that for Nick Fuentes to become a better person, he would have to renounce almost every single thing that he's ever believed.
Really?
And he would have to
really? What about that? You need to drink water.
The political project of hate that he has championed for an audience of increasing size. I think that Nick Fuentes' redemption is not a matter of he just has to lean into one aspect of it. He would have to go full American History X, realize that the entire belief system he's built his life around is bunk, and change everything about him.
You don't even believe that. You don't even believe that.
You agree with he's still going to drink water.
Probably 90% of his critiques of Israel.
Okay. Nick Fuentes' critique of Israel is that a Jewish conspiracy is coming together to get Americans who would otherwise not endorse the state of Israel to endorse them because Jews are an extremely powerful this extremely powerful and conspiratorial role in society, right? Such that
do Jewish people not have an outsized level of influence in the United States? Are you joking?
Yes, but I don't believe that there's a Jewish conspiracy, right?
Whoa! Wait, Big Joel, you can't say that. I got called an anti-Semite by non-compete for saying that. What the fuck? Man, how the goalposts have shifted. Absolute debate slop. Now I'm gonna try to like lean away from engaging with it intellectually because it's debate slop. You know, I'm here for the ride basically. Isn't he Jewish himself, Big Joel? I don't fucking know.
Believe that Jews are responsible for all these world wars, or that there was I think the relationship between Israel and America is actually pretty explicable in normal political means, whereas I think somebody like Nick Fuentes would want to appeal to this sort of shady conspiracy where Jews who have caused so many conflicts throughout history are causing yet another one, right?
95% of what I come across of Nick Fuentes in terms of clips talking about Israel is perfect, has nothing to do with it. He doesn't even utter the word conspiracy. It's factual analysis of the relationship between Israel and the United States, and that's why he's popular. And he would not have to abandon his
I agree with you that that's why he's popular. I think he's using a moment where
Dog, I've seen clips of Nick Fuentes talking about Israel. It's not exactly a leftist critique. Man, rent must be really bad for him. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Did like Fuentes decline to be in a show recently? Jesus.
Sentiment toward Israel is at an all-time low, where figures in Israel want to sort of create a wedge. You're either anti-Semitic or you're pro the ongoing atrocities in Gaza. And I think it's a ruinous kind of political strategy, and that people, neo-Nazis like Nick Fuentes, are benefiting massively from it, right?
Can you be a good person and a neo-Nazi?
No, of course not.
Is it moral to?
It's not even a debate. It's like Big Joel has unwittingly elected himself to babysit a very young child who's heard a lot of terms from listening to his parents talk, and needs clarification on everything. Is mayonnaise an instrument? Well, what if you like splash around in it and make noise? Who fucking knows, man? Who knows? Shadows will see this and say to Vaush, we want our debates back. Oh, Not right now, at least. Joel needs to find ways to snappily take quick jabs at him. Well, Joel's position is impossible because you can't win a debate under these circumstances because it's not a debate. It's just meandering, time wasting, disguised as a debate. But I do want to watch longer because I want to see how it develops rhetorically, I guess. Maybe I'll, like, skip ahead in a bit.
To be friends with someone who's a neo-Nazi? Because
I don't know. Maybe I think it's probably. I think there can probably be ways in which it's moral to do so. Maybe if you're really committed to getting them to not be a neo-Nazi and you've known them for a long time. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, because when we talk about, like, Nick Fuentes is a Nazi, Nick Fuentes hates Jews and all that, it's like, okay, sure, all of this, I accept all of this could be possible.
It's true, actually. I mean, it's true that he does. I mean, his entire. Let me get out of Nick Fuentes'
Hold on. How certain are you of this? How certain are you?
Are you 100%?
I don't try to speculate on
99%?
people's intentions, and I'll try not to do that here. Okay. I don't know what goes on in Nick Fuentes' head. Maybe it's all a prank. Maybe he'll come around and in 10 years he'll say, "Punked, I love Jews." I don't know. Okay, fair enough.
Pull the Kanye.
The entire purpose of the political project that is Nick Fuentes is one that leads us to Jewish hatred. That's what I'm saying. Not that Nick Fuentes personally believes anything, that the entire career that he's had on the internet has been devoted to ministry of hatred of black people and Jews.
No, if he continues to launder to his audience the idea that it's not Jews and their genetics that's a problem, it's their religion and their belief that's a problem.
What?
And if they became Christian, that would be fine. That's the exact opposite of the...
First of all, that's still anti-Semitism. Second of all, Nazis constantly call people Jews for their ethnicity, not for their religious practice. Like, a majority of Jewish people in America don't practice Judaism. And for third, since when have Nazis tried to convert Jews? I actually have never heard that in my life. Like, that argument is so insane. I've never heard it before. And I've heard a lot of arguments. Yeah, Nazis just want to convert them? Remarkable.
Nazi position that Jews have in their genetics fundamental moral flaw.
My Jewish neighbor's son converted to Catholicism as a grower because of you.
All right. Hey, love to hear it. You know, look, I like Jews. I really do. I just don't trust them, and I need them to be Christian. I have a lot of Jewish friends, and almost all of them are Christian, actually. They're ethnically Jewish, but they're Catholic. I have a couple Jewish friends that are not Catholic, but I only tell the truth. You know how I feel about Jews, but they are really funny. They are pretty intelligent and crafty. So they're, look, I'm not gonna lie. They're fun to be around. As long as they're not trying to kill you, as long as they don't hate your race. And I don't necessarily trust them. I don't fully trust them. And I think some of them are going to hell. But, but they're pretty, got to give the devil their due, even if they're the literal devil or the figurative devil. I appreciate it. We love them. We love all people.
Do you believe that Nick Fuentes, which do you believe is...
You can just read the sincerity dripping off of Fuentes in that bit. Really compelling stuff. Remember, anti-Semitism is not the end goal of Nazism. It's just a legitimizing mechanism for a bunch of other social projects they care about. Like, it didn't have to be Jews. It was just inertia and, pre-existing cultural bias that made that the recurring character. It could have been anyone. It could have been Romani people or travelers from Ireland. I mean, it could have been any group of, like, relatively socially dispossessed people who you can pin all the world's problems on. In different cultures around the world, it's been different groups. You hear the way Indians talk about Pakistani people and so on. It's always like that, right? It's not, like, new or novel or anything. But yeah, anyway, the obvious, like, truth being that they don't care either way. This is crazy debate slop, though. Hold on. Let me, I gotta skip ahead a bit. Wait, hold on. What are the chapters of this video called? Is Debating the Holocaust Anti-Semitic? That's the one we just finished. Recycled David Irving talking points. How do we deal with Nick Fuentes? Nick is racist against black people. Nick is turning the right against Israel. Race and IQ. We need a solution to Nick Fuentes. You know what? I'll listen to the race and IQ bit, I think. I'll listen to the race and IQ bit, okay? Because that sounds like it might potentially be, like, rooted in some kind of data discussion, as opposed to P.F. Jung interrupting Big Joel to ask what the definition of water is, or whether or not Zyklon B is a gas if sometimes it condenses on the ceiling and forms a liquid, and whether or not it's therefore inaccurate to say the Jews were gassed. in the death chambers or, you know, whatever other inane bullshit crosses his mind.
I think he believes pretty strongly that there's a genetic component in why black people are less advanced than white people. I think he thinks they're less intelligent genetically. I think he's indicated that very much, very obviously over time. And
okay, well, we can. This is like, you know, your point about someone who denies the Holocaust must be a Jew hater. Someone who talks about race and IQ must be a Jew, must be a racist.
So when I was talking about Jewish people, Paul, you said the Nazi must believe.
Thank you for calling me by my first name. I appreciate it.
The Jew is genetically inferior, okay? And then I say that Nick Fuentes believes that black people are genetically inferior, and it's like, are we done clutching our pearls, or is it time now to clutch those pearls, baby? Like when does the pearl clutching begin?
I don't know what point. Sorry,
I'm trying to say it doesn't seem like the genetic component of racism is actually that important. When that doesn't make you racist to suspect that black people are genetically inferior to white people and intellectually deficient.
Okay, no, hold on. No, all right, let's. Do you accept that the gap in IQ between black and white people has potentially a genetic component? I'm not asking you how much. I'm asking you.
What the fuck is that? Do you accept that it potentially does? What are the standards of proof we're setting for this? Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Notice he's very keen on never actually saying anything. He only asks questions. Just asking a question. Dude, it's old hat. Old hat. Turn this rage bait off. I just want to hear this one section. Are we debating if Nick is a Nazi or this guy? We're debating if Nick is handsome. We're taking different positions on, like, you know, we're talking about it from every angle. Charisma, facial symmetry. That's what we're on about. And it's Kino. We're really learning a lot.
Is it a logical possibility that there is a genetic component to the gap in IQ between white and black people?
Is it a logical possibility? Like, is it theoretically possible?
Yeah. Do you accept this?
I don't think it's true.
Do you study the race and IQ literature?
I mean, I watched that very good song video.
Do you study the literature? How many books have you... does P.F. Jung still call himself a centrist, by the way? Do you study the literature? Not like, have you read studies? Okay.
I've seen many... oh, you don't think that's a good video? You're pro bell curve.
You read theory? No. Do you think Charles Murray's a racist?
Seems that way, yeah.
Always questions. Question.
Again, more reasons why it's hard to take some of the assertions seriously.
You think that it's just like beyond...
You think Charles Murray is a racist? Okay, fucking, you've been basically discredited from this conversation. It's not like every academic in the universe slam dunked his book as soon as it came out.
I'm positive. You don't think Charles Murray's racist at all?
Well, I say you know, to the same degree you are, but do you think Charles Murray's racist because because of his ideas in the bell curve, because he points out the data in the bell curve?
It seems like the current consensus academically is that the bell curve is not a valid text, and that most of what it gets,
wrong. I'd say that's wrong. It's completely wrong.
Oh,
why? Why is that wrong?
Because the claim, first off, unless you think like people like John McWhorter or Glenn Lowry are, racists, in of themselves.
Oh shit! I haven't read the racism literature. I don't know the name of every person who's ever published a study on race and IQ. You guys know these two offhand? Who are we referring to? Whoops. Racism lore? Yeah, I don't know the racism lore. Remember that this guy opened this line of questioning by asking if it was like cosmically possible that there could be a genetic component to the IQ gap. That's a strong position to start with. Well, do you think like maybe in a million years, anywhere in the universe, like maybe it's possible, unprovably so, but is it possible maybe that I'm right? That's the opener. That was the opening.
They don't dispute at all the fact that if the only thing you do is you take white people and black people, or people who self-identify, that's how you do. Like, you self-identify as white, black.
You
have them take IQ tests, that at a population level there is a gap.
Oh, there is a gap.
No one disputes that. Right, no one disputes that. Right.
That's true.
What does that have to do with
so then the question
genetic?
is, well, how much of that is genetic and how much of that is cultural? And Charles Murray himself, in his interview with Coleman Hughes, said the cultural component is big, i.e. it can be changed.
Yeah.
So why is Charles Murray a racist, and why is the consensus against him, even though it's not?
It would be because he...
Wasn't this supposed to be on the... Dude, I'm so stupid. I'm unironically so dumb. I thought this would be like a data-driven section, but it turns out that just like with Nick Fuentes, this is yet again Jung just asking over and over again whether or not you think his hat looks cool. I thought it was going to be like, well, let's discuss the data on it. Let's discuss, like, the burden of proof, or let's discuss, like, the viability of this possibility. It's just like, well, okay, how do you feel about this racist guy? Is Charles Murray still alive? Could he potentially get on this YouTube channel? Not mine, I mean Jung's. Is that why we're doing this? I thought you were joking. No, it's pretty much all just like, do you like my hat? Can you imagine a theoretical world in which my hat looked cool? He's got like the rainbow propeller beanie thing going on. No, listen, okay. But like, do you think anyone could possibly think this is cool? And when I went to school and Stacy said that it looked cool, but like in a snide tone, do you think there's any world in which it was actually a sincere compliment? Possibly. Also, how are we defining race? Oh, Box Fox, don't engage with this crap.
He thinks that black people are intellectually inferior to white people genetically. Not wholly so, but
Okay,
that's a huge component.
Let's not even go down this route because this is not an avenue of productive discussion, clearly.
All right.
We're just getting a little off topic.
That's not a productive...
I think it's pretty illuminating because I think that it's interesting, right? Like, you know, I think that what's happening here fundamentally is that there's just a little bit more agreement with Nick Fuentes' points.
Yeah,
and
I agree with a ton of Nick Fuentes' points.
About race, about everything.
Depends. Depends on what he says. Case by case.
And this gets to the. I know, Big Joel, that this was a point that you made when we were talking before as well. That because I feel like the argument, Paul, you've made is that a lot of sort of Nick Fuentes' racial arguments are actually more nuanced than they seem. Blah 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 blah. But then you also sort of you claim that he was a immoral, degenerate creep, right? And then you linked to a blog or something about him, right?
Yeah. Yes. He's
classic centrist argument against Nick Fuentes. You don't disagree with him on his positions on Jews or black people, but you think he's a closeted homosexual. Wonder where your grievances are coming from. You know, really makes you think.
He's acted. Yes, he's doing PDF associating and seemingly condoning PDF file related.
Did we not say pedophile on the channel? Are you gonna bleep that?
Well, I guess I have to now. I'm gonna have to go back and bleep it out. Yeah, it's PDF. Okay.
And then so like that, I guess in some ways like that was really kind of like the harshest sort of critique you could muster of him, was that like he's a degenerate in this kind
No,
of
that's the one
way.
No. I picked that one in particular because that's the one that even the Nick Fuentes fans couldn't, I don't think, hand wave away.
Oh, how curious. The one criticism that you offered against him was one that would allow you to poach audience members. It was a criticism you could offer to stoke contention but not alienate the people in his audience. That's curious. Come on, I've been in this business long enough. Jesus Christ. Whatever this guy agrees on Nick Fuentes over regarding Jews is a matter of projection. Jesus fucking Christ. The disingenuity. Or is it disingenuousness? I never remember. The second one? Yeah, that sounds better.
Way. So it was the most damning in that regard.
Yeah.
I guess this is my broad point, Joel, and I appreciate you having this.
Like he explicitly admitted it. He literally just straightforwardly said the reason I offered this criticism was because it wouldn't lose me points with his audience. We missing debates? They were all like this towards the end, man. They were all like this towards the end. Pretty much past, like, anything past 2022, at least, the debate circuit is completely cooked. I mean, it's kind of hard not to be when this is the kind of stuff being debated, right? Like, Jesus Christ. Define anti-Semitism. It's kind of a shame, honestly, because I was hoping to... I like Big Joel a lot. I was hoping to have, like, something useful or informative to offer after this, but I don't really know what to say, because sometimes it feels like the only lesson that I get from this is that, like, some people are literally just... Some conversations aren't worth having. Not even because of the topic, but usually because of the people. Like I have had what I would consider to be well-reasoned intellectual conversations on race and IQ and Holocaust denial and so on. Not many, but you know, it's possible.
Like, is Nick Fuentes pro-Hitler? Duh. Right? Like, obviously.
Okay.
Then it's like, well, okay, yes, well, is Hitler, or is Nick Fuentes, like, does he...
It seems like he's only willing to front a position or accept it when it allows him to ask a new dumb rhetorical question. You know what I mean? Like, everything is up for being questioned unless he wants to accept it as a given so we can move forward to the next dumb question. Like, what does it mean to be pro-Hitler? How was Hitler racist? Didn't he just love white people? Like, it's silly.
View Hitler like he views, like, the Pope. Well, no.
I don't think he does. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So there's nuance to his.
I think he thinks Hitler's like a nuanced leader who had a lot of good ideas and did a lot of good things. Didn't commit the.
He likes Hitler because it's epic and based and red-pilled to say he likes Hitler. Okay. That's the only reason why. He said his favorite authoritarian leader was Stalin, who you might recall was instrumental in Hitler's bunker suicide. You know, it's nonsense. None of it means anything. It's all idiosyncratic. None of it refers to any authentic or sincere belief. There's no principle underlying it. It's just whatever's epic and based and red-pilled. Whatever gets you that affirmation.
The Holocaust, that's a big part. Didn't try to gas Jews. That's a big part of it, and ultimately was quite maligned by history.
Venture,
that's what I believe about. I don't think he is a full scale like. Okay, I'll put it this way. I think if Hitler was around today, Nick Fuentes would vote for him. I don't think that if Nick Fuentes knew what would come for the German people, he
unfortunately. I think a lot of people would vote for Hitler.
Yeah, a lot of people would, and I think he would champion the Hitler.
A lot of left.
A lot of positions fronted from this guy. Regrettably, as a centrist, I have no choice but to say that I agree with Fuentes on everything, and I think that the world awaits the return of Hitler. Centrist, by the way. Dickless, by the way.
I think he would champion the Hitler of tomorrow. I think that if somebody had the moral worth of Hitler, he would be their greatest fan, and I think that's a huge reason why I feel these things. I feel.
Actually, by the way, if Hitler came back today and was actually hampered by the limitations of modern rule and the globalized economy that makes it difficult to do stuff like start World War II over again, I think that he would get treated the exact same way as Trump. He would be a performatively racist, over-the-top populist. Kind of publicly stupid, but still like epic and based and red-pilled. It'd be super edgy to support him. A lot of people would support him, but invariably, like, he would do things as Hitler did, as the real Hitler did, that would compromise some kind of purist vision, and it would just be more profitable to hop onto another guy. Yeah, but he would be a bit more overtly racist. I mean, maybe because Hitler was born like 120 years ago, but keep in mind that Hitler's racism and anti-Semitism was literally a means to an end. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that it got him what it got him, he probably wouldn't have been notably racist or anti-Semitic relative to, just like any other German guy. It was all a means to an end. It was all insincere. I'm not saying he wasn't a real anti-Semite. He was. I'm just saying, like, the fact that he was definitely in part a consequence of the fact that anti-Semitism was the driving conspiratorial force that allowed him to do what he did. He was very racist, but yeah, but like a ton of people were back then. I just think it's important to note that like Hitler was exceptional only in the circumstantial forces that allowed him to take advantage of existing social trends. He was by no means a great man. He was no Genghis Khan. He did not pull the sun across the sky. You can totally imagine what it would look like if Hitler was around today, though, right? He would be like Viktor Orban, He would have to code his language differently to not be immediately alienated by all the world leaders his country depends on, like with regard to trade and immigration and stuff like that. It would all have to be a little more coded. If you want to know how Hitler would talk today, look at the way Nazis talk today. Like, Nazis today, in any position of power, they have to code their language. They're moderated by it. You even have like the disciple of Mussolini currently rules Italy, and what is she doing with it? Not that much. Not really,
Sorry, go on.
That's fine. Again, I view the pro-Hitler stuff like someone's pro-Stalinist stuff and pro-Mao stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gross. Like someone says, like has like Maoist, like unironically talks about Mao in a positive manner and stuff. It's like that's a sign of a sick soul, and I think the pro-Hitler stuff's similar. Again, Nick Fuentes is deeply irony poisoned, as am I in many ways. So
immediate clarification. Hold on, wait a second. I just essentially criticized Nick Fuentes' character. Better claim that his support for Hitler is insincere, even though earlier in this very line of thought, I claimed the opposite and said that he does like and defend Hitler. I mean, he is irony poisoned, of course, but like that's just the nature of the fucking game, you know? Let's finish this.
It is, I'm sure you would at least agree it is difficult to know, like, you know, exactly where, you know, what his beliefs are. Well, you've already admitted that a bunch. Yes, so fair enough. My point is, all the things you're saying about him being racist and all that.
Yeah.
It doesn't lead to a solution on how to deal with him that I think is productive, or I don't see how there's a better alternative than the way that I am going about it, which is
okay. That's where I'm gonna have to tune out on this one. Dude, I'm so familiar with this, man. I swear to God, I'm getting like PTSD flashbacks to this exact kind of like insane, borderline messianic. I am a centrist and I agree with the Nazi on everything. The only way to stop this Nazi who I agree with on everything is to suck up to him constantly and only criticize him on issues that align with the criticisms of his audience so that I can continue to benefit from the adjacent exposure. Yeah, I know. Ooh, dilly. I guess my main criticism for Joel is just, I guess you have to recognize who actually believes something.
Despite all the available facts, is it at least possible for me to be a Barbie girl? If so, wouldn't that hypothetically mean I was in a Barbie world?
If he talked like that, I'd like him more.